Hello, I'm Anna Scally, partner at KPMG in Ireland. I also lead the technology, media and telecom sector for KPMG in EMEA. Welcome to Business and Finance's Executive Insight series, where we speak to business leaders about their insights into strategy, success and overcoming challenges. Today, Tony Judd, Managing Director of Verizon UK and Ireland, is joining us from London. Tony, you're very welcome.
Hey, Anna, it's lovely to be here and thanks very much. Really appreciate it.
So, Verizon was named FDI of the month in December 2023. Congratulations. What are some of the key business strategies that you think culminated in that nomination?
If I look at three things, the UK and I economic growth, how we driving that as an organisation, how we creating a better future, and how we harnessing technology and science revolution that's going on in those two things. And that's something which we've focused on and to drive that better future for our region, for our customers and for basically our populations as well.
So can you tell us more about the UK Innovation Industries Intelligence Report and its impact on fostering collaboration and innovation within the UK and Ireland industries?
The innovation report was really inspired by looking at where our customers are today, where we are, and the amount of innovation that's going on that we can learn from each other, and we just don't know it's happening. Because one of the things we've come to realise is whether you're working in science or food or pharmaceuticals or manufacturing, the ability to learn from each other through technology has never ever been like it is today. So the first question was, what's going on within UK and Ireland? Because it's not always evident. So we commissioned a report, and 7 months later, we've profiled 500 companies across 30 different categories, and also mapped out how they connect to each other, those common things that are applicable. So as we bring our customers into, say, one of our innovation centres, which we've got one in London and they're all over the world, we sit down with their teams, we take time out, a day or two with the customer, where we're not talking about the normal stuff, we're talking about the world, their business strategies, and then applying in some of these associated companies in different industries starts to result in you thinking differently as a collective, and then you start to create new possibilities that didn't exist before.
Excellent. Well, listen, when it comes to setting goals, what advice would you offer based on your experience in leading a major tech company like Verizon?
Yeah, so that is a question. So goals are, if I think of my background, over 40 odd years, goals are very easy to set, whether they were strategic goals, tactical goals or operational goals, because we lived in a pretty stable world. So you could set a goal and you'd know for the next, year, 3 years, 5 years, everything else is consistent. So it meant you could wire that goal to the ground in the business, you could align teams and do everything else. Technology and the advances have changed all of that now. So you have to find that right balance between technology consistently creates new possibilities, it introduces new threats in terms of competitors in the marketplace. And so you can't be reacting to that willy-nilly all the time. So you've got to really strike that balance between what's a real long-term goal, what do we need to react to in the short term, or how do we react in the short term? So I think the main piece of advice is get pretty fascinated in your customers. So as long as you focus on the customer and work backwards, it's a pretty good measure as to whether you're going to be successful or not, because we've all we've all over the years been servants to our shareholders. It's easy to get a servant to society today, to employees, and all those things are important. But the main importance is the customer. If you focus on what the customer is doing, what their challenges are, then your goals can withstand that flexibility challenge.
Sage advice, focus on the customer. So moving along, how has Verizon maintained its leadership in network services and security? And what role do next-gen technologies like private 5G play in all of this?
Yes, so I'll go back to the revolution that we're in, and what I talked about before in terms of everything's changing. One of the big things that's changed is how our industry serves its customers. In the past, there's been a user and there's been some compute power somewhere, and they've relatively been both fixed. The user's sat in an office or it's a thing, and the compute power is in a data center and it's fixed. And so the connectivity is just one strand that connects the two. Now we're in a world, and this is growing literally exponentially by the year, where first of all, end users are just growing enormously, whether they're things and computers and devices or whether they're human beings. Second thing is they won't stay in one place. They're moving around everywhere. So that's that side. If you go to the other side, it's a case of the compute is moving around everywhere. So you've got all the major CSPs. Customers have still got their own data centers. We're seeing edge compute come into the environment as well. And applications are being developed as microservices. So for one application, you're using compute and storage from everywhere, just for the one application. So with that in mind, there's never ever been a time when secure high performance networks are more relevant. Never. Secure because you can't fix things down, you can't lock them into an office anymore. They're everywhere. They're also devices. Security has never been more important. Performance, it's easy to create these networks well, it's not easy. It's easier to create these networks where everything's mobile. Do it with performance in mind. Big issue, whether that's latency performance or just sheer connectivity. So it's never been more important. So when you look at a network operator like Verizon, assets start to come to play. Our core internet backbone, again, has never been more important than it was before, because it has to connect and peer to so many places, and because latency in the modern application is becoming more important. Those peer points and that performance of the core network become very important. You've got SASE and secure service edge become absolutely essential to maintaining that secure edge, as it says. You've got ecosystem integration. So one of the big things that's changing is where we all used to do things manually, more and more we're publishing APIs, and a wide ecosystem that supports an application are talking to one another across the ITMS layer. So whether it's change, asset, capacity, inventory management, which then leads on to billing, it all interacts with each other and becomes more important. 5G is an element of that. So 5G is just one breakthrough technology amongst many others, which enables different outcomes based on what 5G can deliver. So an example is an Association of British Ports, where we've deployed 5G. You can do things with computer vision, for example, like inspect health and safety equipment on workers. If they're not wearing them, it flags, alerts them that they're not wearing them. You can control assets in and out of a port area, which bizarrely wasn't done before. You can inspect ships and rigs and everything else using drones. And there's lots of other use cases, which again, all depend on secure, high performance network performance, including latency, which is a big factor going forward.
Talking about entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs looking to leverage new technologies in their business?
Yeah, so it's interesting actually. We do an entrepreneur challenge every year in Verizon, and this has been part of my, if you like, journey, because whenever you mentor somebody, you learn more from them, and I think they learn from you. So if I think of the one of the organisations that we mentored, or an individual, the CEO within an organisation that we mentored, it's interesting that there's so much we take for granted and know, and they don't know because they've never been exposed to it. And it was only in talking to them that you start to realise, I didn't even know I knew this, or I forgot it was important, and you just assume everybody knows the same thing. And so really that bringing that network together of people, that diverse network, people that are experienced, people that look at things from different angles, especially people that have played devil's advocate and don't necessarily believe in anything. Just that being curious and being open to that big diverse network is so important, because it will keep you honest. Whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're working within a large corporation, when you design something, when you're passionate about something, you can't believe it's not perfect. And that's the biggest failing. So to have these people that you've got that trust with and that knowledge that will tell you when something's perfect, and you encourage them to also tell you it's not perfect, and listen to them and then act on what they've said in a considered way. That's really important, really important.
Yeah, I love that, the engagement between entrepreneurs and large business and corporates like Verizon. Brilliant. So much to learn on both sides of the table, I think. Moving on to the future of the telecoms industry, particularly in terms of technological advancements and customer expectations, how do you envisage the future?
Anchoring back off of the previous question around, we're going through the science and technology revolution, and therefore everything's different. Networks never been, or secure high performance networks never been so important. The future of telecoms is going to be, and listening to customers, is going to be around platform type services. It's going to be around as a service models. Many customers we're talking to now actually want to move to as a service, literally on an employee level. So whether it's the communications network and their laptop and their everything that an employee uses, it's just give me an as a service for that employee. If I go up, I'll pay more. If I go down, because they don't want to worry about technical debt, capital investment, and they just want to work in a consumption-based model. I think we're going to see more partnership, or the continued emergence of partnerships and alliances. When I talked about that ecosystem coming together, whether it's CSPs and telcos and other innovation type companies, that's going to be more and more prevalent. So the way telcos have historically gone to market and sold to market will evolve as well, and we'll see more in terms of partnerships. And I also think, that's talking about more of an end state. If we look towards moving to that end state, I think we're going to go through a number of iterations as well. So if you look at literally every company's agenda at the moment, top, middle, and centre is cost reductions. Cost reductions can always be made, but they come at the expense of something. They often come at the expense of security, they come at the expense of performance, and they come at the expense of agility. And we've got already several examples of where organisations have pursued a cost-driven strategy, which has then got in their way in terms of their ability to grow. And so I think as an industry as well, we've got to ride those bumps and those storms as we get to that end point.
Okay, so reflecting on your own career, okay, what personal habits or philosophies have contributed most to your success as a business leader and in driving innovation at Verizon Business?
My career is long. Obviously, I started straight out of school into telco over 40 odd years ago. And I've been really lucky in my career in that, and I'd like to say it was by design, it wasn't. I literally have worked in multiple disciplines and multiple departments along the way. But started as an installation engineer, maintenance engineer, planning engineer, service manager, solutions consultant, sales. Done virtually everything other than finance and HR, I think, are the only two I haven't. The fortunate part I had is to say, working in all these departments, you get to see actually there's a lot of clever people, a lot cleverer than me. And I think when you realise that there's always somebody clever, that in fact there's loads of people cleverer than you, and across multiple disciplines, when you're not threatened by that as an individual and you start to embrace it, you can then start to bring people together and earn trust. You can then, when you've done that, create a common focus without actually just defending something you've done. And when you've got that common focus, then at some stage you need to be decisive and just, not always, but often, you need to be decisive and say, okay, listen and hear carefully. This is the decision we're making. Most important thing is having fun along the way. And if you do all of those things, then everything we obsess about today in terms of integrity, respect, diversity, inclusion, equality, trust and culture just all naturally happen. You don't have to focus on them as towers. If you genuinely believe everybody's got a contribution, everybody's cleverer than you are, and you've just got to help them bring them together and unleash that, then you tick everything else off along the way.
Well, thank you, Tony. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Anna.
And thank you for listening. You can find more episodes of Business and Finance's Executive Insight series in association with KPMG at businessandfinance.com, YouTube or Spotify.